most obvious change in investor relations in the post-Enron era, and it's more than just Enron. Of course, remember we deal with WorldCom and Tyco and Adelphia, a couple of other companies I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's a lot of accounting scandals around that time. And the major result of that was the passage of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which really held senior management to a much higher standard in signing off on the books of their companies on the quarterly reports. I would say that the level of risk is far greater for businesses that don't comply with the provisions of acts like Sarbanes-Oxley, because they're taking the chance of being found deficient in their financial reporting. The risk is far greater for them. Certainly there's a cost in the compliance, and that affects smaller companies more than larger companies. And there have been some studies done on that. But I would say that really the benefits outweigh the costs. And a number of studies have been done on that, showing that companies that have been found to be in line with the new regulations, compliant, have had greater share price appreciation and lower borrowing costs from financial institutions. We had a fax machine, and we would fax information to head office, and they would fax that information out to clients the following morning. There was no email, no internet. So I remember when I was a securities analyst, part of my responsibility working in emerging markets, working in Mexico City, was to read all the newspapers, physical newspapers, in Mexico City in the morning, and summarize the key components, and then on a telephone conference call communicate those to our head office or our satellite office in New York, and they would then communicate those ideas to our clients across the world. You have many more people participating in calls, in investor relations calls. You have the public being involved. You have forums on the internet where people share thoughts about the company, sometimes not for the good. You have people spreading rumors as well. So investor relations departments have to be increasingly vigilant in monitoring nefarious attempts by people on the internet to move the price of stocks by spreading rumors. So investor relations departments have really had to be ramped up over the course of the last 10 years with just the means of communication out there. Even emails, which weren't as prominent in the previous 10 years. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to be too much of a financial hazard for publicly traded companies, because they're always going to be accountable to the shareholders and the board of directors. I think you'll see an increased focus on corporate social responsibility with regards to matters such as the environment and third world development, or the development of emerging countries in the future, for a number of reasons. First of all, if you look at the initiatives with regards to electric cars, fossil fuels, solar power, these are businesses that are going to continue to grow, and even companies that don't necessarily work in these fields, I think, are going to recognize the importance of having some sort of positive impact on the environment. Also, companies that are increasingly active in emerging markets, whether it be China, Russia, Brazil, Latin America, Africa, it's going to be in their best interest to be seen as a good corporate citizen, and thus to get involved in initiatives that might help their communities in those areas.